All right, let's get some recording going on here. I imagine the win session is going to be pretty short, unless you guys, the select group, crushed it. All right, we are live and recording. How's everybody doing?
Good.
So we have our event. So for you guys that are maybe watching the replay, sorry, we had a little scheduling conflict. We had to do it at 2 p.m. today. But there,
Eastern,
2 p.m. Eastern, not Central. So yes, you guys can watch the replay if this time didn't work out for you. We are super excited. We've been doing a lot of planning for our event that's coming up this weekend. We're not going to, the last few calls have really been event focused. This one, we've got some more awesome content that we're going to be bringing to you guys. But we are really excited. If you guys weren't able to make it to this event that we have this weekend, I think we'll be doing another one at the end of July. We'll be releasing those dates out. So if you are figuring out your schedule for the summer and this is important to you, leave the end of July. That's where we're targeting for our next event, and it'll probably be in South Florida again. Just that's really convenient for our team and all the stuff that we have to transport for this event. But we're excited. I think it's going to be something special. We've got all of our planning set up now. We've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Friday we have the bartender at the mansion. Saturday we've got some amazing speakers that are sharing really cool stuff. Jeff, do you have the topics?
The topics, yes.
Let's share some of those topics for
one moment. I will blow those out for us.
Yeah. So for the VIPs, we've got some special stuff we're doing on Friday. We'll be going through kind of a video verification process for the VIPs. I think we're going to do one in real time and get a GMB live, hopefully, while we are at our Airbnb, and kind of show you guys some of the workings behind what we do. So that's going to be a really cool session. Then Saturday we have,
if you want me to take
go ahead.
We have, first off, Chris Moore, Consulting for Equity. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to hear all of the deep details of what he does and how he does it. And then Adam McChesney.
Lost Jeff's audio.
And can
There
you hear
it
me,
is.
Patrick's, or not? I don't want to.
Go ahead.
Now it
I
goes.
just don't want it to.
Go back through.
Yeah.
Mute yours. I got it on mine.
Yeah, it's gonna be that way. So then Danny Barrera is gonna talk about.
Hey Jeff, I think you're gonna have to start over because I muted. I didn't
Oh,
realize.
you muted? Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
you're good.
All right.
Just take it from the top there. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, it'll echo if I put my mic on as well. So first of all, we're going to talk, or Chris Moore is going to talk about consulting for equity, which is going to be amazing. I can't wait to hear that and hear how he's done that over the years. That's one of the first ideas I had when I got into lead gen, and just have kind of dabbled in it and had different opportunities with it, but have never been able to really pull a deal through. So I can't wait to hear that. And then Adam McChesney is going to talk about scaling an agency with personal branding, which he's done an amazing job at over the last couple of years and is crushing it. Michael Merlino is going to talk about branded fucking traffic. So I'm interested to hear what that's going to be about. I'm sure it's going to be colorful no matter what he says. Danny Barrera is going to talk about operations and sales. Operations are always kind of a challenge, and sales as well, really. So to hear somebody who has kind of conquered both of those to scale his agency is going to be amazing. Then after lunch, we're going to have Brock Misner talking about the local traffic method for ranking GBPs in 2023. So it's going to be super cutting edge stuff from Brock. And then to round out the day, we're going to have Francis Ablola and Brian Hansen talking about how to build and monetize an influencer brand. I know Francis has almost 300,000 followers on Instagram, so he's done it and he has proven the model. So we'll see what he has to say. And then we have our very own in-house expert, Patrick Shannon. He'll be talking about scaling for success, and then we'll be creating a 90-day game plan. So it's going to be a packed day. But we're going to round it out after that with dinner at a local restaurant. It's going to be amazing. Those are the topics that we're going to cover.
Yes, awesome. The restaurant, I think that like we picked out a place that's pretty special. So we're gonna have an amazing view and on the water. With I guess there's gonna be about 45 of us at the event. So really excited. You know, it's been a lot. It kind of reminded me this last week of planning our wedding, right? Where we had to organize all these different things and prepare all these parts and pieces. But I think we have something special. We've been to a lot of events and we've kind of built our all-star team from the things that we liked and things we didn't like at different events. And we tried to put together something special. So we're super excited to bring this to you guys. I know the topic that I'm talking about, I've specifically chosen it for this group based on what I've heard that, you know, the guys that are coming, what I think you guys are struggling with. It's going to be a lot about kind of like finding your team and locating the right people and using the right strategies to identify who's going to be a good fit and who's not, and like the timing of what people you should be putting in place based on where you are in your agency, which I think is something that a lot of us struggle with. So I'm really excited for that. Looks like we've been able to round up 12 people for this last minute live time adjustment. Again, sorry for the time, but I'd love to hear from you guys. Let's just run through it. Who has a couple wins to share from the last week?
I got a couple.
What you got, Gary?
Business wise, I just stole a customer from 411 local. I love taking customers from those companies. He does kitchen and bath. They're screwing him around, and he reached out to me. Somebody that reached out to me a couple of years ago, and then through bad experience, reached out to me again and just closed them up. And then a second win was a client of mine that we do paid ads for. I also do lead gen for him, and I kind of used his brand on one of the lead gens, which was totally cool. It was, you know, agreed upon beforehand, but he's scaled so much that he wants to own everything. So a small little lead gen in a very small population, I just sold for $8,000. So that felt pretty good.
Awesome.
And then I still got him on, you know, paid ads. And then I also have him on lead gen for another thing that he isn't branded on. So couple wins. And then, you know, obviously I'm in Florida, so that's always a win.
Yes. There's a win in overcoming a fear there. Do you want to share that at all, Gary?
Yeah, I forget that race car driver that wouldn't fly anywhere, but I must be in his gene pool. You know, with having to drive everywhere, you know, up and down, everywhere.
Is he from Buffalo too? I know that gene pool is pretty small up there. You guys are out in the woods.
No, he was a race car driver in the Carolinas. I can't his name. I don't know if anybody else follows racing, but
so Gary has always been driving. Like he drove down the last time when he was down here for a few weeks. It was good because he had his car, but he was going to drive down from Buffalo to Florida again. And you know, we had a conversation, and I tried to share with him one of the things that I learned, and kind of like something that's a backbone for me is, you know, when we have that little fear that's preventing us from, you know, there's obviously some good rational fears. Like, I'm not telling you to go pick up a rattlesnake, but when you're afraid of something that's preventing you from living a better life, then we've got to attack that fear. And Gary, like a lot of people, isn't really comfortable flying. And, you know, he jumped in a plane with almost no notice and flew down here to Orlando, man. So it's awesome to see you overcome that fear, man. I know that, that's a process and that's a step. And it's like, if you make a habit of not letting that shit hold you back, it will make a big difference over time. I know that I had that turning point in like 2013 where I'm just like, I'm going to attack this stuff, you know, and it's made a huge difference for me. There's a lot of stuff. Like, I was scared to start my agency. I was scared to start a software company, to speak at events, to even this event, like there was a level of fear where I'm like, man, what if no one wants to come? We've all got that like in the back of our head, and I'm like, I'm not going to let that stop. And it's almost always it's wrong. We sold out of our VIP tickets like the first day, right? Which was awesome for our first event. So yeah, congrats on that. Who else has some wins?
Yeah, I've got a couple wins.
Devin, what's up, brother?
Devin,
Not much. I'm ready to go to Florida at this point.
Is that your Florida haircut?
that's his Florida cut.
This is my Florida cut. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a win.
That's
I
great,
got to
man.
tan the dome, so I
Yes.
had to cut it down a little bit. But no, so if you guys remember, like this was like a month and a half-ish ago or something, on call, I was talking about, this concrete guy who, I was saying his life sounded like a country song and everything, and like all
I
the bad
remember
things
this.
were happening. Yeah. Him and I just talked, and we have come to an agreement for payments to start coming in for the properties, because I've been able to help make his business over 60K this month. So he very much, he called me the other day, and you could tell he was pretty emotional with it. He had quit his job that he had been doing to supplement his income, and he had hired his full-time guy, his first full-time employee for his company, because he was just using day laborers before. And it was very flattering what he was saying. He was like, you're a savior and blessing and stuff, which, I'm telling him, like, it's not, I put up some websites and GMBs, like, it's not, like, I appreciate it, but, don't title me like that. But it was just like a nice reminder of everything that we do, right, with helping people and all that. So he's a paying client now, from going from like almost, like getting a divorce and, like his stomach rupturing and all this crazy stuff, to now like, wow, he is actually an owner of a business that he's running and all that. So it was very, what would be the term? Vindicating, validating to hear that. So
Rewarding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Man, being able to help these people out is, it's something special. I know at the beginning we're really focused on, you got to put your own mask on first. And we're often thinking about, like, hey, I'm trying to pay my bills. I want to quit my job. I want this freedom. And it can be hard to put, think about these people and how much it means to them. And then you hear it and you're like, man, this is awesome. I'm actually getting paid for helping these people grow their business. And that's been one of the most rewarding parts, not only with my agency, but running the software company and doing these calls with you guys. Like, seeing you guys work through some of this stuff is really rewarding for me and my whole team. Right. So congrats, Devin. That's awesome, man. Congrats on the impact you're having. Let's go over to Mr. Greg Adams.
Yeah, thanks again for having me here today. Yeah, so I have a win here for the week. I've got one of my customers that I've had this stuff I've been doing, or it's a strategy, some software I've been working the last couple of years, and I got him to implement it. And what I like about it, and really starting to, just in the last few days, really starting to see some traction with it. He's super excited about it. But on top of that, is that now I'm seeing a lot more opportunities to use it more with even more of my lead gen stuff. So I could take, basically I'm getting paid to make this guy happy right here. And I'm getting a case study out of it as well. And then I can implement this with the rest of my business and my lead gen stuff. So, my point being is you got to put it out there. You got to try it and push forward with it. And then then you can actually see other opportunities start to open up. But if you don't try and implement the one thing, then you never know. So it's always the things we don't know what we don't know, right? And so by doing this right here, again, the customer's really happy with it. I'm excited about it. And now we're seeing other things to add. It starts to snowball. So now we're starting to add more things to it. Like, okay, this is working now. What's working over here? Oh, let's add more to it. So anyway, that's my win for the week.
Yeah, that momentum, man. It adds up. Obviously, it snowballs, and it gives us confidence too, man. It just changes our whole energy when we start to land some stuff like this and start to see the results. So that's great, Greg. Hopefully, you'll be able to. I know this event wasn't good timing for you, but hopefully you can join us on the next one, man. I'm excited to hang out with you in person. All right. Who else? Any other final wins before we get into what we have prepared today?
I got just a small one here.
Alex, what's up, man? Are you ready to come down to Florida?
Oh yeah, man, I'm so excited. I'm gonna be like a sponge, and I'm just gonna soak it all in. I'm looking forward to taking my business to the next level from everything I can learn from you guys and some of these bigger players. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, my small win is I had this concrete site in Virginia here that I was kind of trying to run some ads to it last year, and it was like the CPC was high, and I was spending too much money on it, so I kind of put it on the shelf for a little bit, and then like now February, things are starting to pick up, and the site is actually ranked quite well. So I was starting to get a bunch of calls. So I've been calling around, and I found a guy that I got on the hook just yesterday. And so I'm sending him a few free leads, and he seems pretty impressed so far. And actually, like the way his schedule is, I'm going to try to meet with him at the airport in Toronto on my way to Florida, in between my flights.
Nice.
So you never know. Hopefully, I'll close him during my over there.
Looks like Spencer just closed someone at the airport.
Yeah, it looks like you're at the airport. Yeah.
Let's see if we can get a second airport close.
But anyways, I'm hoping to aim for like $1,400, $1,500 a month on this guy. So just because I can just see the volume of the leads starting to go up,
Right. Alex, go in there with confidence and let him know, like, hey, we know that a concrete lead is worth like $50 a lead, and it's producing 30 on a monthly basis. These aren't shared. You can do this. I know that what you wrote down was and during our call, you expressed this need for like sales. And I just want to act as if you've done this. Like it's so much of it is this confidence that they feel from you. And I just want take that into this conversation, and let's celebrate your new closed client when you arrive in Florida, sunny Florida.
Sure.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Awesome. And congrats to Spencer on closing someone in the airport. That's always fun. All right, cool. All right. I'm going to give you guys, we got to jump into this now, because it is a good amount of information we have in here. So I'm going to share with you guys about the business models. So what I mean by this is there's a lot of different, we've already heard a couple different ways from this call that mix into these business models. So like learning this skill. I know that there's been a ton of new people that have joined our group, and this is a whole new world, and they're trying to figure out like what this is and what are the different ways. There's these different terms that we hear. So we heard Spencer closed someone in the airport for an SEO deal. Gary mentioned that he had a client that he's running paid ads. Devin is doing lead generation. There's a lot of different ways that we can take and monetize from this skill set, from this kind of core skill sets. So that's a big part of what this is going to be about today. One of the things that I think, looking around the people that have had a lot of success and looking at the people that maybe spin their wheels for a long time, there's this shiny object syndrome that's really popular inside of this, in this business model, in this world that we're in, because there's so many different directions that we can go. And I want you guys to be aware of these directions, and I want you to be aware of the pros and cons that are associated with each one of these. When you make a choice to do something, you're making a choice not to do something else. And there's timing for each of these. There's times when this makes sense. There's times where it doesn't. Some of these are quick start, and we want to get some quick cash in here, some great strategies that we can use, but I wouldn't stay in that spot long term. There's things that are going to like for instance, lead generation is one of our favorite business models, right? But that can take a long time to get some money coming in. So maybe it's good to pair that with something else. And then as that really starts to kick in, put all your attention towards like the future investment of that. You may not have the need for this quick cash, because that quick cash is nice, but it's not recurring a lot of times. And if it is recurring, the quick stuff is not going to be recurring at the same way that some of the longer ones are. So that's what we're going to go through today. So Jeff, can you see my screen? Am I sharing this? Or Gary, give me a thumbs up if you can see it.
I see it.
Okay, cool. All right. So we got the business models. What can you do with these crazy skills? There's a lot. So first, let's talk about what the different models. So these are what I'm going to go over today. So we've got the lead generation. I'm going to explain each one of these, the SEO services. We've got website building. I think a lot of you guys are going to know what this is just by looking at it, but maybe some of the pros and cons won't be completely obvious. We've got GMB optimization or GBP optimization, paid ads, consulting for equity, which is what Chris Moore is going to be talking about during our event. We've got the ability to white label Saas. So that's something that you guys can do with LeadSnap. I know that that's something that Gary and I were talking a lot about. And then there's affiliate marketing, right? Where you can actually go and build a site. So I'm going to use LeadSnap as an example because I own LeadSnap, and I want you guys to do these models if it makes sense for you. But you can essentially go and build a website that brings people towards, like, if you wanted to try to rank for like, hey, like GMB optimization stuff or reputation management stuff, then you can either white label us and have that go through you, where you set your own price, or you can set it up as an affiliate. And as it scales, it goes from 20% for the first 10 people, 30% from person 10 to 25, and then everything after that is 40% recurring. So there are a lot of different ways, once you know this kind of like core SEO marketing skill set, that you can apply it. So let's jump into the first one here. So these are the things that we're going to kind of pay attention to with each of these models. So these are the kind of the considerations: the speed of how long these are going to take, the difficulty for it, how passive is it, what's the profit margin? That's a big deal. And then how scalable is this? Some of these are going to be more scalable than others. And then what's the sales difficulty associated with it? These are some of the sticking points that I think I see with a lot of people. It's one of these spots, right? Okay, so let's jump into the first one, lead generation. I think most of you guys know what this is that's on the call, but for those of you guys that are watching the replay, so basically this business model is you're going to build out, you're going to identify a weak market. So we're going to look, what we teach is we'll teach you how to identify these markets. So we're going to look for a city that's the people that are ranking in that city for the search terms and the niche that we select are ranking simply because Google has to rank someone and not because they've been amazing at what they've done. So the reason that we want to choose a market like that is because we can come in quicker and we can get results quicker. So we've got a lot of stuff that talks about the niche selection, but basically you're going to build a site, you're going to rank the site within the search engines, and then when leads come in, we're going to automate the delivery of those leads to a local contractor, and we're going to sell them. There's a lot of different ways we can sell them. We could sell them with a pay-per-lead. We could set up a flat fee. We could take a percentage. We could do maybe a hybrid deal where it's, $500 a month plus $25 a lead. So there's a lot of different ways to monetize through this. And this can actually be a lead in for a lot of these other ones that are on here. So let's check out the pros and cons of lead generation. So it's a very high profit margin when you get this set up, right? We've had sites, one of my first sites was a tow truck site. So I built that site in, I think, 2016, and it's been 7 years, and I've done almost nothing to it. I think I was into the site for maybe 60 hours worth of work. We have our review automation set up so that we get reviews for it, but it's been 7 years. And I think for maybe the first 5 years, I got $1,000 a month. And for the last year or so, I'm not exactly sure, we've gotten $1,500 a month. So as this has taken hold and we've gotten more reviews, and our reviews have improved our rankings, and I've gotten better at negotiating with business owners, we were able to move up the rent. So very high profit margin. And what am I paying for? I'm paying for hosting with that at this point, and the phone numbers, right? So not a lot of expenses. It's very passive. Like I said, I haven't touched it for a long time. And the sales process, what's the sales process look like for when you have lead generation? So I'm like, hey, tow truck driver, I have these calls coming in. I'm not a tow truck company. Would you mind taking these for a week? I don't know what to do with them. And let's just talk after that. So I can hear through the recordings of these calls that we're sending him that he's closing deals and he's making appointments. So I know that he's getting value. So when I call back to try to close him on a deal, I've already put money in his pocket. And honestly, this is one of the easiest sales that you'll have. So this sales process is super simple. You've already led with value. They trust you, and they know what they're getting. Imagine going to a car lot and they don't have cars there. And they're like, hey, let me tell you about this car. It's black, it's sporty, it's fast, it's really luxurious, versus having them take it and drive around the block with the car. So it kind of sells itself once they get to experience that. And that's what lead generation can do for people. So it makes the sales process a lot easier. It's very scalable, right? Because of the passive nature, it allows us to just build these sites, and then we can let them sit after their ranking, and then we can go on to the next ones. So they don't require a lot of ongoing attention. And it's a process that we just kind of like repeat again and again. So the difficulty, I think, long-term is low. If you choose the right markets, obviously there's a lot of strategy that goes into choosing these things. We could maybe move the difficulty to like medium, but I would still categorize it as mid to low, because like Google business profiles can be challenging for us to get those set up. But if you have the right strategies and you've got the right playbooks, that's something that can be pretty easily overcome, and we've got a lot of those in our training. Another huge advantage of this is you own the assets. So in our agency, we have hundreds of sites that we own. And we've lost some clients, which you look on the pros or the cons over here is if you lose your assets, you can lose a client. So we lost some Google My Business profiles. We lost some rankings with some sites, and then we lost clients associated with it. But guess what? We still own the assets, right? Maybe it's no longer on the 100-yard line, but it's on the 75-yard line. And we've just got to like tweak it a little bit, and then we'll be able to get that client back or get a new client in there. So there's kind of like a double-edged sword there with that. The clients can't leave a lot of times if it's producing. They're locked in. They have no option. If you're sending them, if you're giving them, 7-1 on their money, they're just it's not in their best interest to leave. So a lot of our clients will ask them, what percentage of your business comes from us? And they will say 99%. So that puts them in a situation where they're going to be very, very sticky as long as it's producing, right? So you're in the driver's seat with this. If you decide that, hey, I don't want to deal with this client anymore, you can get rid of them and go on to the next client, right? You own you kind of have the power there. So this for me is my favorite business model, as a lot of you guys know. The lead generation is often referred to as rank and rent. If you've heard that term, that's another way that people refer to this often. So drastically reduce client management, right? The client management on this, if they're just paying for leads, then as long as it's producing, they're not in there telling you like, hey, you've got to like tweak this on this site or this and this. Like it can still come up sometimes, but I think relative to some of these other business models, that's going to be quite a bit lower. The cons, right? This can be slow. It can take 4 months, 6 months. When we chose a bad niche, it took us a year to rank something. Some things we don't even have ranking, right? So that's something you certainly want to consider. This is not necessarily a fast money strategy. This is a long-term play, but I think it is the most profitable long-term play. And maybe it makes sense, like I said, if you're just getting started and we need to get some cash coming in, pairing it with one of these other models that we're going to go through could be a great strategy. So we've already talked about losing your assets, losing the clients. You have to be a high performer on this stuff. If people are paying for leads and you stop producing leads, like that's an issue. A lot of these other SEO models, and I don't want to like say anything bad about these other agencies or anything, but it can be a blurry line as to how well you're actually performing for this company and what you're actually providing for them. That's very transparent, which is a double-edged sword, because it means that you can get paid top dollar because like, hey, this is exactly what I've sent you. We've got a tracking for everything. We know the lead value, but if it's not performing, then like, it's not really worth anything until you have it performing. So that has that requirement. And it can be, like we mentioned earlier, it can be harder to get some things in place. The Google business profile, there's some challenges there. You use some of the strategies that we've laid out. I don't think that's such an issue, but I know that people do struggle with that when there's not, this is kind of like a business that we're inventing, right? So, all right, cool. SEO Services is a really popular one. And this is the standard marketing agency model here, right? Where you're going to provide SEO marketing to the business owner. We work on their website and we charge some sort of monthly fee. So I think a lot of you guys are familiar with this. This is the standard playbook. So the profit margin, I would describe this as moderate. I don't think it is nearly as passive. And the difficulty, I would say, is kind of like easy to moderate, not super difficult. The sales process will be a little bit harder. So that kind of, you've got to sell someone on the results that you're going to produce rather than showing them the results and then, moving it. Like once you show them the results and it's right there for free for them, like we saw in the lead generation business model, well, then it kind of goes from being a sales conversation to a negotiation on how much they're going to be paying you. That's not the case when you're doing SEO services. You're promising them a dream and you've got to show that to them, which is like, hey, that's not a big thing to overcome, especially if you use some of the tools and strategies that we've taught through this course over the years, right? The scalability is high. Like we can stack things up. We have a playbook that we run. So we can just kind of like one client to the next. These are the services. If I were running this business model, I would have a limited menu of options that they can choose from where it's like, okay, you want this, we'll do like website building. We're going to add a certain amount of pages to your website each month. We're going to add backlinks. We are maybe going to do Google business profile stuff. We're going to like add pictures. This wouldn't really be my main. I would be piggybacking this with some of these other models, reputation management, maybe Google ads, and then like white labeling the ad service. If I was doing SEO, but SEO can be a good way to get yourself in the door. If you haven't really perfected the lead gen pitch, then like no client's ever going to come to you and say like, hey, I want you to build a site that you own and I will pay you forever for that. They're not going to say that. That's not that, but they will like, hey, can you help me with my website? And if you get good at this pitch, then moving them from SEO services to lead gen or pairing those together is an easy process, right? So the sales difficulty, as I mentioned, can be higher. The client can have unreasonable expectations for their budget. I think that's really common. And I think until you're a master at this business model, you will experience higher churn. There's a lot of stuff that you need to put in place. You need to have like maybe a monthly meeting with reporting on exactly what's been provided to the client. You have to onboard very well, right? There has to be, you have to have a systematic, organized, professional process in place that's showing your customers what you're doing and checking in with them. So that management is going to be higher for them, right? You don't own the assets. If you lose the client, you're basically starting over. So if you think about the hourly rate for this, for those of you guys looking back on your like, maybe you had clients back in 2017, for some of you guys, 2016, that were SEO clients. How many of them are still here versus like, hey, I've got that tow truck site for the last 7 years that the guy just pays me every month and his whole business is dependent on those sites that I've built there. So pros and cons of SEO services. All right. You guys have any questions about any of this? Throw it in the chat if you do. All right, cool. We'll talk about website building now. So website building, right? This is super easy to understand. And this is a quick cash strategy. I've actually have a couple videos in our library that talk about this strategy. So for less than $10 an hour, you can hire a pretty decent WordPress developer. You can buy themes that are super professional from Theme Builder or Envato, and there'll be $60. You can have someone install that theme, change out the content, and change out the pictures and have a very professional site for probably a couple $100. And I think it wouldn't be far off to have a business owner pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for a super professional site like this. So that can be really profitable and it can be a quick money strategy. There's obviously some management. If you do this strategy, I will warn you that the clients will, there's going to be a lot of management. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. Change this, do this, change this. That's a negative with this. A typical fee is you're going to charge maybe half up front, half upon delivery. You won't actually post this. I would always tie hosting into this. So that could be an extra like $40 a month. If I were doing this, is like every time I sell someone a website, hey, we'll take care of the maintenance for the site and this, and maybe it's $100 a month if you include like maintenance for like updating the plugins and like making sure this and that, like that's an easy upsell. And the security, right? Push the security side of that. So if you don't do that, the agreement's going to end upon delivery. So some of the pros and cons of this. So pros, like the profit margin can be pretty good. It can be harder to like convince people this, and there's that back and forth with the client. I think if you get a team in place and you kind of like just map out the SOPs, I think could be a pretty scalable model. I think that I don't think if you can come, here's how I would do this. If I was trying to sell a website, I would have like my template. So say I'm in plumbing, I would build out this like really cool plumbing site. And I would have maybe 7 or 8 versions of this website. That's like whatever my domain is. So patricksagency.com/ and then I would put the business name that I'm trying to target for this. And I would switch out the colors and the logo on their site as a part of my pitch. Like, hey, check this out. This is just like a starting spot, but I would personalize it to them. And your developer could do that in just a couple minutes. And I think if you do that, the sales process is going to be pretty easy. This is fast. You're not waiting for something to rank, right? You can build out a website, and if you have a team in there, you could probably build out one website a day. Certainly within a week, if you have a smaller team, you should be able to get that stuff in place. And it can be an awesome foot in the door for other services, like we talked about with the hosting, or moving them into lead generation, SEO, reputation management, which we'll talk about in a bit, is another easy tie-in for this. But it's a way to get them in place and position their website so it's in a better spot for SEO in the future. That would be a part of my sales pitch if I was considering this. You can be copying these sites again and again. So there was a challenge that we did a few years ago. We built 10 websites in 24 hours. We just copied the sites. There's like 10 different copies of the site. We switched out the content. We switched out the pictures. I have a big team of people, so that was easier for us. But building those websites out, we did 10 in 24 hours, right? With a team of probably like, 10 to 12 at that time. So this is not passive. This is going to be very active. I think you could turn this into passive if you got that team in place and you turn this into a machine. But coming out of the gates, there's a lot of back and forth. Your goal, I think, for a lot of you guys that are starting this business is to pull yourself out, right? If you choose this business model, there are absolutely certain things that you're going to have to put in place for you to pull yourself out. You can't be going back and forth with the client. Someone else has to do that. You're going to have probably a designer or a couple WordPress developers, a content writer. So just kind of like take that into account. And as I mentioned, I think that the back and forth with the client can drain my energy. So I put that as a negative. Maybe some of you guys enjoy those constant conversations.
One more thought on that, Patrick. As you get the skills and the team and the confidence behind you, those numbers can go up dramatically. And yeah, you might have a lot of back and forth, but we had a deal. I don't know if Patrick wants to share the number, but it was a significant 5-figure website build. And I mean, you can't argue with a 5-figure website. It's like, they come around.
Yeah, we did a $35,000 website for a company, but it is not like your standard lead gen. It involved it's like an e-commerce kind of job.
It was totally out of our wheelhouse, but it came through an existing client, and it's like, okay, we have the skills, we have the developers and the knowledge and know-how, and we can manage the project. It's like, yeah, I'll take that deal. So you have a little bit more of you're in more of the driver's seat. You have a little bit more control over what you take, and $3,000, $5,000 website is great, but when you get up into those bigger numbers, it's also, those are opportunities. You can take them or leave them.
Yep, absolutely. So I'd love to hear from you guys so far. I should have done this the first couple times, but what do you guys throw in the chat? What do you guys think about the website building? Is it something that you guys are interested, that you would try to get your foot in the door, or hey, I'm not interested in that. I like X, Y, and Z. I'd love to hear it. I'd love for these calls to be a little bit more interactive so that we can get feedback and use that to make them better in the future. So tell me what you like or don't like about the website building, or maybe some of you guys have done some of this. Throw it in there for us and let us know. All right, so I'm going to move on to reputation management. This, I think, is a great model. One of my favorites for sure. So basically what you're doing here is you're managing and maintaining the client's branded identity with reviews, social media engagement, and online discovery. So getting reviews for the client. This is something that can have we have it down here as a moderate profit margin, but if you actually look at what profit margin is, this is a very high profit margin. It may not be very profitable from a total collect, like you're going to probably sell this for $250 a month, but the cost that's associated with that $250 is going to be very low. So the actual profit margin will be very high. It's just it's going to take a lot of those for you to get to, $10,000 a month. However, this is something that everyone knows that they need, right? So if you look at the sales difficulty on this, it's very low. People know they need reviews, and a lot of them don't have systems in place. I think 5 years from now, the opportunity is going to be somewhat gone for reputation management, because people are going to have the system set up. Like business owners that don't have it right now, they're getting picked off. They're like, there's people reaching out to them, setting this reputation. You guys have this like opportunity that I think is going to close somewhat, where most business owners don't have reputation management in place. They don't have a process. And the sale on it is super easy. And the profit margin, even though this profit margin says moderate, I think is very high. But the actual like profit is low, but it's scalable, right? It's very high scalability. So, if they're like McDonald's turns into one of the hugest companies by selling, cheeseburgers that only cost a couple bucks, but it was very scalable. So it's like, it's a similar model like that. It would be easy to get. And here's the best part is like the foot in the door for other services. This is such an easy foot in the door. And one of the pitches could look like this. Hey, don't pay us if we don't get reviews. I would go like this. It's like, hey, do you have like a list of contacts? Because it's not uncommon for us to get 5 or 10 reviews in the first 24 hours. So we take that list, we upload it into LeadSnap, we put them into an automation, we request those reviews, they get those reviews. We can see that they've gotten those new reviews. Now what's the sales process? Hey, do you want to continue this? Because we can automate this for $250 a month. And you've got a huge margin on that, where like, if you're paying for the $99 plan, then you're getting a bunch of companies, and it's easy to profit from those. And I know that Harry Gilliam, who is not on this call, has been doing this, and he's kind of been combining it with a heat map to show like, here is the heat map prior, and then we added these reviews, and here is the heat map now. So it's like, that's a great 1-2 punch and a great lead in to that foot in the door for other services. So the speed, I don't know why we have modern on here. I would say that the speed on this is very fast. I think some of our numbers got mixed up. The software does the work for you on this. So yes, very, very, very scalable, easy to deal, but it's lower ticket, and you got to have the client participate. So those are some of the cons that you're going to deal with. This is like getting the client in there, and it's your job to be the salesperson and let them know some of the strategies that you can pass on. If the business owner has a few crews, then you could say, hey, why don't you give an award? Maybe it's like $100 Starbucks gift card to the crew that has the most reviews during a month, or the person that requests the most, right? Some of these strategies in there, but it requires you to sell like, hey, it's going to make it easier for you to rank. It's going to make it easier for you to close deals. You can close deals for a higher amount if there's more trust. So it's really easy. They understand that. Everyone knows reviews. I always reference like Amazon. Like, would you pay more money for if there's 2 pairs of shoes and one has like a 3.5 and the other one has a 4.5? I'm paying more money for the one that has more. And I use that as a part of my sales pitch if I'm trying to get a client to go into reputation management. If you stack this and kind of have this a part of the lead generation, then you can have your clients getting reviews for an asset that you own and improving your ranking, which is phenomenal, right? That's an amazing situation. It was taking the legwork out of a lot of what we have to do. So really cool. Let me know what you guys think about this. What do you guys, it looks like Alex says, I want to try some reputation management just to get the sales process down. I think that's a great idea, Alex. And we got Devin. He wants to jump in on this too. He's not sure how to do it properly. Devin, you're coming to Florida. We'll talk more about it. I'm probably going to put together some training on this process. So I'm glad that you guys are receptive to this, because I think it's a great business model to get into and pair with your current offerings. So GBP Optimization. So I know that there's a lot of new people, as I mentioned, that are joining the group. So the GBP, the Google Maps, Google My Business Profile, the Map Pack, all these different names for it. It all is the same thing. So it's basically just optimizing that. So we're going to help them. We could be a setup process. It could be that we're establishing one for them, or we could be doing ongoing optimization. So this can be a great foot in the door, which I don't know what we left that off our pros, but it can be a great foot in the door. The profit margin, I think, is moderate to low on this. you may be able to charge, a setup fee and then a few $100s a month. Maybe you could get someone up to like $500 a month for this like ongoing optimization, or you could pair this with the reputation management, right? So it's scalable because there's not a ton of work that's on your end. And you can probably have some kind of like outbound sales process to find these people. There's a ton of people who need this service, right? The difficulty, I think, is pretty low on this. Like it's not hard to optimize these things, and it's not hard to move the dial. It may not be that you get this person to number one in the first few months, but you should see some progress from that. And it's easy to report on this. And this is fast, right? Like we can optimize something in a couple hours. So I could have my team go in, set up a Google business profile, add photos, all this different stuff. It's you're gonna if it's a one-time deal, then it's not going to be passive at all. You're going to always be, if it's just going to the setup, then you're going to have to find a new person constantly. But if you can get them into like an ongoing optimization, then it can become more passive. It's low ticket, right? You are working with something that you don't own though, right? The Google business profile, and that's a part of all of like the lead generation model too. But you're at the mercy of Google. If they get suspended or something like that, it's to some extent it's out of your control. We can maximize things by using best practices, but we are at the mercy of Google on that. And getting the client to participate, if we're going to be optimizing this, I want reviews coming in. I need photos from my client. There is that client participation. We can be replying to the reviews within LeadSnap, but there is this level of that takes away from the passivity with having a requirement for the client to be bought in. All right, let me know. Have you guys tried that? Any of you guys tried this GBP optimization? I'd love to hear what your experience has been like. I haven't personally tried to sell this on my own. If you have tried it, throw it in the chat. Let the rest of the people hear about it. Okay, paid ads. This one is paid ads can be difficult. I'll tell you that. But there's a spot for this for sure. So pay-per-click or PPC. So this is essentially you're going to set up an account within Google Ads platform, and you are going to have a daily budget. The way I would do this, if I were going to do paid ads, I would have a service that's doing it and managing it for me. And I would not be the one that's in there, because this is a whole nother beast right here. It is very hard to be good at Google Ads and get them to perform really well. And you want to make sure that your the ad spend is actually on your customer's credit card. If you're trying to do like lead generation where you're running it on your credit card, it can be a recipe for disaster. And it will cause contentious relationship with the clients, churn. Not having that transparency to where their money's going can be a problem for them. And if you're doing like leads, but the leads are costing you more than what they're like, say it cost me $40 to get an actual lead through PPC, but they're paying me $30 a lead. Like I'm going to be upside down on that one. So there's some danger there, but there's a lot of benefits to this as well, in my opinion. So the passivity, I think, is moderate. You've got to have a second company or yourself. If you're the one that's managing this, then I would say the passiveness is low, because you're going to be involved on a daily basis. You need to be looking at these things, looking at the keywords, the negative keywords, how the ads are performing, what adjustments. We need to constantly be tweaking these things. So that's why I recommend trying to have someone else do this that's a pro, and it can be hard to be good at this. The scalability, though, is high if you can set that up, right? If you can get that person in place. I think the profit margin is moderate. You would just mark up. So like if the company's charging maybe $600, $700 a month, then you mark that up by 30%, right? So you charge whatever, $800 or something like that. But it's not like that lead generation profit margin. The speed is very fast. We don't have to wait on ranking. It's just like building out the ads. If we stay in the same niche, we can actually just copy the ads. We can copy our landing pages, and that makes it more scalable, right? See what else we got here. So you can, like I said, white labeling and mark it up. You can get immediate results and immediate revenue. So those are two big things. Like we can have money coming in right away, and someone else is doing this, right? That kind of goes back to it being very, high scalability. And like a lot of other ones, this is a foot in the door for other services. If you're actually running the ads, though, the difficulty is it's high. Like I said, this is a whole nother beast. I think I maybe spent 150 hours going through courses on Google Ads and trying to understand the strategies, and I improved dramatically, but I still wasn't great at it. And I'm someone who's pretty analytical and can understand this stuff. And I found that it was still a challenge. And a lot of times the cost per click today for each click within the ads, that's how it works. Where you set like a daily budget, you set a budget of maybe $100, and when someone clicks, that eats into your budget. And then when you exhaust all your budget, then your ads don't show. So your ads just like shut off for the day, and then they'll start up the next day, right? So if Google makes a change today, that cost per click, and this has happened a lot, and it's happened not only on Google, Facebook, all these platforms, right? TikTok right now, I think is the ads are a lot cheaper, but pretty much the life cycle of these paid ad platforms is they start off low, get a ton of people using it, then they raise the price. The prices are always going to be going up, right? Whatever it is today, it probably won't be cheaper than that again in the future. So that's something that is going to affect clients and client satisfaction. So it can be out of your hands to some extent, or to a large extent, right? So lots of management, or you're going to have a white label required. So let's go over the consulting for equity. So this is one I haven't done. I've never done this, but I'm going to be moving into this space a lot with my buddy Chris, and it's just a natural progression for here. So this is where you're building out a site, or you're providing marketing services, and you're going to get equity in the company in exchange for this. So there may be a transfer of ownership of the assets that you own to something that is now a joint venture, but you can take a piece of the business for this. So it requires obviously a very strong relationship with the client, and that's a two-way relationship. So don't just think like, hey, I really need to build this relationship with this person because I want to take equity. Do you like this person? Do you trust this person? That has to be a big part of the equation for you. So the pros and cons, like if you're part owner of the company, then the profit margin can be very, very high, right? So until you get the systems in place, there is going to be more involvement from you in a business model like this. You're part owner now. Like you're responsible for potentially operational parts, different pieces, getting all the ducks in a row, right? But you own this. You own a company now, so you own this asset that's more than just like a website, which is what it is for lead generation. And this could be like, hey, we've got this business model in place now. What if we decide to start copying this to other places around the country or around our area? So we have the ability to grow this and be getting a much higher portion of the business that we're providing than it just be like solely through leads. So it's a really strong play, and I don't think this is appropriate until you really have the chops for this. You've been around for a little while. You understand the business. You have to understand the niche, right? You have to have a level of predictability with the results that you create. And it can't just be like, hey, I built my first website, I'm getting great results, I'm 3 months in. That could work out fine, but I think it's a more uphill battle when you're in that. There's a lot of understanding that is also going to be necessary to like how businesses work. You may need to get an attorney involved to help you structure this appropriately. So the speed is going to be low. The difficulty is going to be high, right? You're going to have, there's a lot of hoops that you got to jump through, which means it's going to be less scalable. It's going to be hard. Like I could build 10 sites in 24 hours for a lead generation business. There's no way I'm closing 10 businesses in the next 24 hours. Like that's going to be very hard to do that. The sales is going to be difficult. You got to sell the business owner on giving up part of their business, which maybe is their baby for years. But hey, if you can remove them from the business, help them with operations, and grow their business and give them more money and more time, that's the pathway to this business model. As I mentioned, you need an experience and a track record, and these deals are way more complicated than the other ones that we've been through. Let me hear if you guys are excited about the consulting for equity and what your thoughts are on that. Gary, I know my buddy Gary there is kind of playing around with that idea in a few different places, but throw it in the chat if you, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this and your feedback on it. So the last one, I believe, is to create your own company. So this is something that we're working towards ourselves right now. I'm pretty excited about this. We're going to be launching our own company related to a niche that we're interested in. So basically, you create your own company, you hire your employees. So you're essentially building like an LLC or like an S corp or whatever structure you want, but you're actually going to be the 100% owner of this. Profit margin can be very high, and it's the highest return on your skill set. There are obviously a lot of cons. Starting out with, it's not going to be passive. It's not going to be super scalable unless I mean, your first one, you got to get a lot of stuff in play. And then maybe after that, there's some scalability that can be introduced. Difficulty is high because not only are you required to rank a site just like you are in lead gen or run ads to get leads coming in, but you also have to put all the operational things in place as well, right? If that means that you've got to get equipment, you got to get licensing, insurance, employees, all these different things could be necessary. This could be a higher risk too. Like, right, it could like, what if one of your employees gets injured or you damage someone else's property doing something like that? Or, you know, some employee injures someone at a customer's site. So there's some risk involved there. You put this money in. I think our risk is reduced if you're really good at the lead generate. Like if you have a lot of prospects, you do your due diligence and you go into a market and you just take over, like you can reduce your risk. And you know, obviously you got to make sure that you put the appropriate liability insurance and safety protocols in place. But there's more financial investment is required in this and more resources. And as I mentioned, there's some legal concerns here. So let's hear from you guys. How many of you guys in here or are watching the replay have actually done this and started your own? I know that Adam McChesney, who's going to be joining us at our event as a speaker, he owns a windshield company now in St. Louis where he started out with this, and that's been very successful for him. And I know I've heard the story a bunch of times. So for me, I'm really excited to go into the space. But as you guys know, I've kind of been doing this for a little while, and I've got a pretty good feel for running a business. We're running multiple businesses and kind of the local lead generation. So I feel really confident, and I understand the business model I'm going into really, pretty well. So all right. So white labeling SaaS, we talked about this. This is they say that the SaaS companies, SaaS is like if you Google what are the best business models, SaaS is always on the list of best business models. It's super scalable. And so white labeling it, essentially what you're doing, if you took LeadSnap as an example, you can white label LeadSnap and make it look like, Gary's Buffalo marketing agency, if I wanted to. And no one would know, or Gary's CRM system, no one would know that it's actually LeadSnap. So that's what that means to white label. And then you charge them for access to the software. You can charge them whatever you want, right? We handle the development of it. We handle the support, and you just go and land the clients and get them to use the system, right? So this is a very scalable with a moderate to high profit margin. I think the profit margin should actually here be very high. Because you can mark this up and have a tremendous return, right? You could essentially be paying $10 to $15 a month and charging someone $150 a month or $200 a month, right? So that's a massive profit margin. I don't know how we got that one messed up there. The passivity is very high, right? You're not building the code, you're not supporting it. You're supporting the client, but you could easily put a client person in there and have them be a go back and forth between the support agent. The difficulty, I think, is pretty low. You get someone in there and they get to using the system. It can be pretty easy to keep them. The sales difficulty, especially if you're dealing with contractors, I think you're going to run into a little bit of challenge where these guys aren't techie. But you don't have to sell. You can kind of handpick the guys that are going to make the most sense. The speed can be very fast. And like, as I mentioned, most of the time, the SaaS company will actually handle the support. And you get to leverage other people's efforts. Like for us, we put tons of money. Like I think we're multiple seven figures that it's cost us to build out LeadSnap. So no one that white labels that has to pay that. Like I paid for that, right? We paid for all of that. We paid out for all the bid. You get to leverage our efforts, and there's a lot to that. to be able to leverage one of the best ones. You're dependent on the SaaS company. If they have bad support, they have a bad product, if they go out of business, that's your business too, right? So that's something to be to at least take into account. Creating marketing positioning. Like if I were someone that wanted to white label this service, then I would be like building out my site that sells this service. I would be potentially running some sort of like Facebook ads, Google ads, getting them into the door. But I've got to have that infrastructure in there to have this inbound leads coming in. And you will have to do some like sales and prospecting in there, right? So
Patrick and I met somebody in Nashville last week who's completely white labeled another SaaS platform and is actually just taking it as her own and building it out and utilizing it for a very specific part of the niche or very specific niche, and then creating Facebook groups and Facebook funnels to bring them in and use the software. She's getting a referral fee on the back end and selling the coaching of the program on the front end at a very high ticket offer. And it's like, when I realized what she was doing, it was brilliant. And it's so simple, but it's got a lot of complexity to it at the same time, and, from everything that I've seen from her so far, she's probably in her 20s somewhere. She's crushing it.
Yeah.
With that model. So there's all different kinds of ways that you can leverage that. And it's not just I'm going to sell, some reputation management or whatever. Like she's kind of created this whole dynamic and world around her where she's kind of positioning herself as like a software founder, but that does go a little bit too far for me, but she's doing good at what she's doing. So
it was
not GHL Queen, somebody else.
Yeah. It was a little, man, how do I put this?
Call her out. It's fine.
Yeah. It was a little frustrating as someone who's spent tons of money building this out. It's just like, I'm happy for her, but I'm like, man, like she is crushing it. And she hasn't like, I put in years, like I've aged from this software, like, and she's just kind of like, oh, I've just like built out these funnels and now I've got all this money coming in from which is great. That's awesome. That's what that business model is about. But for someone that has been in the trenches and like blood, sweat, and tears going through this, but it's great. I would love to see you guys take advantage of that if that business model resonates with you. So there's also affiliate marketing, which so this is like, I'm going to use LeadSnap again. So the affiliate marketing, right? You can go out and drive, and this is a massive industry, affiliate marketing, right? Being able to do stuff SEO and rank a site that can potentially bring in leads for someone else and get it cut. So just like this woman that we were talking about, she's using it as a white label service, but it's pretty similar to the affiliate model where you're getting an ongoing percentage, right? For SaaS platforms, a lot of times they're going to give you an ongoing percentage, and some are very aggressive. We're very aggressive with ours. You're probably never going to find a platform that is going to give more than 40% ongoing, which honestly is probably more than I make as the owner from this, but we've got all the support, the development, and all that stuff. So basically you're driving something to someone else's product and then you're taking a cut, and it's very, very passive, right? So very passive, high profit margin, highly scalable. The difficulty I think can be pretty low because it's someone else's product. There's some positioning in there that could maybe move this difficulty to mid. If I was doing this, I would do it a few different ways. I think I would not only set up my own site that is ranking for these things. That's kind of like a funnel into someone else's product, but I would probably be running some sort of ads, because if you get recurring, you can get that money back pretty quickly. You're with the ads part of it. If you're kind of like hiring an ads company to management, they should be able to tell you what the cost per lead is. You can look at the lifetime value that someone's sticking around, and you could say, okay, like I'm going to get my return on ad spend in 3 months or 6 months or whatever. So it's net positive, even though I might lose at the beginning. But based on how long people stay with this software, I'm going to make this back, 20 times over, and I don't have to, all I got to do is sell them once, right? I've signed up for affiliate stuff before, not to be an affiliate, but I've used other people's affiliate offers, and I'm like, 7 years later, I'm still paying for things. So they've been collecting money the whole time from me, which hey, great for you. So the profit margin can be high. It can be very scalable. Speed can be fast. Like we can get people signed up pretty quickly. You guys are all in Facebook groups. You're all in this network. Anybody that you guys bring into LeadSnap, like you could be getting paid for that in a month, essentially. Like there's a 30-day delay on us, but 30 days you could have money and it can be recurring for as long as they stay a customer, right? So there's unlimited opportunities for affiliate offers. Obviously, LeadSnap is one of the best ones in the world, but there's also a lot of other ones out there too that you can take advantage of. So, and again, just like the white labeling the SaaS, you get to leverage other people's efforts. So it can be hard though. Like it can be hard to get some of this stuff in place, right? We saw the sales difficulty is easy, but like if you're going to build out something and you're going to get these ads in place that are going to drive affiliate traffic, that can be challenging. And you're dependent on a third party, just like we saw in the SaaS. Like if the platform goes out of business, they do something crazy like that, you're dependent on them. So that's certainly a consideration that you should take into account if you're considering this business model. So this is kind of like this graph we've got on this. We've got the income from high to low, and then we've got the passivity from low to high. So you could probably make your own with this. And I think as we kind of like turn this into a training, as we refine this training, we'll probably have the difficulty and some of those other considerations. But we can see up here, starting your own is going to be the most profitable, like if you do it right. And consulting for equity is also up there too, right? And then we've got lead gen. So that's my favorite, as most of you guys know. That's why I've chose this business model. But I think pairing it with some of these other ones can be explosive. So we've got the website building, which is going to be less passive. There's a good amount of profit. We've got the ads there, the SEO services. I would put it down in here. These are just my opinions on these spots too. So if you guys disagree with me, I'd love to hear about it. But I'd love to hear from you guys. Throw it into the chat. Which one of these is your favorite model? What are if there's anything that you got, like big takeaways that you guys learned from this training, I'd love to hear it. If you guys are just joining now or at 3 o'clock, we had to rearrange the schedule a little bit. So we started this call at 2. So we're wrapping up this call now. But I would encourage you guys to check it out from the beginning. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the Facebook chat on this video. So I have to step out now. I'm going to turn this over to Jeff, but I'm going to come back and I'm going to check out what you guys have said here. But I'd love to hear from you guys. What are your biggest takeaways? What are your favorite business models? Any of the experience that you've had in this? All right, Jeff, you want to take the?
Yeah, I'll just go over there.
Okay, cool. All right, guys, I have to go take care of a couple things, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. And for those of you guys that are flying in, I'm really excited to spend this next few days for you guys at this event. So you guys be safe on your way into town. And I can't wait to, I think we're going to blow you guys away for the ones that are attending this event. We got something super, super special. So for those of you guys that can't be here, hopefully we can see you on the next one, and do what you got to do to put yourself in a better position in the next 7 days so that you can, you can be in a better position for your life, for your business, for your family. All right, guys, have a great week. I'll talk with you guys soon.
All right, you guys. Well, I couldn't say it better myself. I'm not sure what else is left to do here. Does anybody have any questions? That would be one thing. I can answer a few questions if you have some. If not, that was the full presentation. And again, we apologize to you guys that are just jumping on here. We had so many things going on, and the time frames got a little mixed up, and Patrick has a meeting right now that he cannot miss. So we apologize. We will have the recording posted in the group this afternoon, so you can go back and see this. There will be a full walkthrough video and all of that. It's already going to be on YouTube if you want to go check out our YouTube channel. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, just look up LeadSnap YouTube and go there, and it is streaming to YouTube right now. So as soon as I end this call, it'll be available for replay. What you got? Anybody got anything? Questions, comments, complaints?
Hey Jeff, it's Paul here.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, good man. I think using an affiliate offer, and maybe in this case, I'll just say like a CRM, much like yours, opens the doors to some lead gen conversations. I think having a lead gen conversation sometimes with business owners, it just goes kind of right over their head. They don't quite get it. They don't understand it. But if you can talk to them about, hey, listen, I noticed your reviews aren't where they should be. They get that. They understand people buy based on ratings and reviews. So I think you can use an affiliate offer of some sort to open
Like on the review automation.
Yeah.
Yeah, just white label the review automation. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and open the door, and then you build a know me, like me, trust me, and now you can have another conversation about antennas and lead gens and blah 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 blah. Just my thoughts.
Right. Yeah, for sure. It's like that Seth Godin. I think he's got like purple cows or pink elephants or something like that. It's like everybody's hearing from Home Advisor and other lead generators all the time, like our target audience. And what I always tell you guys is like I always try to just differentiate myself in any way that I can. I'm not in a call center. They're all in a call center. I'm not in a call center. They're calling, I'm texting. Like what they're saying, can I speak to the business owner? I'm saying, hey, do you work in X location? Like whatever they're doing, I'm doing the opposite. And this is a good way that Paul's talking about to kind of make yourself that anomaly. Even though there's other people pitching reputation management, you can always tweak and pitch in a different way and get a little bit more attention, you know, especially if you can solve a problem that they have right away, you know, quickly. So yeah, so, you know, get rid of that pain quickly. Thanks for adding that in, Paul. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah. So, you know, maybe you can just give me like some advice. I know you commented on my comment there about selling websites and stuff, and I've tried that in the past, and to me, it seems like a race to the bottom. There's just so many people doing it, and everyone's just charging like $300 or $400. Like,
right.
And you commented you're talking to the wrong people, but like, how do I find those people that are willing to pay $3,000-$4,000 for a website?
Yeah, I mean, it's positioning too. It's the same as when you're positioning, you know, as traditional lead gen. It's like, you know, you can work with Home Advisor, but there's benefits and burdens to both. You know, it's like you can pay $300 for a website. How long is it going to take to get it done? It might take 24 hours, but then you're going to have what? Like not a very great website. So you kind of position yourself against what the other offer is. It's like, well, what's included in that? You know, is it a 3-page or 5-page or 7-page website? How in-depth is the content going to be? What kind of images are going to be on there? Is it going to even look professional? You know, and a lot of times you may lose those deals, right? Because they do want the cheaper option, but they're going to have to pay for it in the long run. So, you know, there's different clients for every service. You know what I mean? So part of what we've done is just through our own building of our lead gen company, you know, we've been able to get a lot more, you know, credibility. And so then when some of these bigger deals come around and a real business owner knows if I want a real website, I'm not going to be able to get it for $400, you know? Yeah. So then you already have those people. So we're not going out and pitching those. So, you know, you may be right. You know, more often than not, you're going to find that your competition is going to be racing to the bottom on the price. But because we already have a lot of these people as clients, or they're referring us to somebody, you know, they're not going to race to the bottom. They understand that if they want a quality product, they're going to have to pay for it. So that's a factor, you know, and you're certainly not going to win every deal, you know. And I don't, you know, there's so many ways through Facebook groups and different kinds of outreach to build credibility where people will understand that your product or what you're going to deliver is going to be higher level and it's going to be worth the amount of money that they're going to pay because they're going to get the value out of it. So a lot of it in my mind is positioning. And yeah, you may not be able to sell a basic website for $6,000, but if you make your $1 million offer, you know, or whatever that Alex Hormozy thing is like make the offer that they can't refuse, then what is that package that they can't refuse? Because I guarantee you that no matter how low, you know, these other competitors are able to generate that product, they're not going to be able to generate, you know, your high level offer for that $400 or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
that would be my thoughts.
Yeah, cool.
Hey, Jeff, can I add something there? Because I think
for sure.
I think it's exactly to your point of positioning. So I'll do a screencast and it'll be a 20-minute screencast, start to finish. By the time I'm done that screencast. They know we are the experts.
Yeah.
No, they're not getting a $3,000 or a $600 website. Our minimum is 10 or 12 grand. And that's Canadian, mind you. So that's about $1,000 American. I'm just joking. But once I educate them through what we're going to do versus like we're $125 an hour as an agency. What am I going to do for $300 or $400 for you? Like a consult on a Zoom, I'm done. We're finished.
Yeah.
We spent $500. So we show them and educate them and position it much different than anybody else, because most people just build a website for a pretty brochure and a shelf. That's not going to bring you the dollars and cents that you're going to need. We design it to bring you revenue, sales, to make sure that that's moving the needle. And when you show them and walk them through and educate them, it's lights out. Lights out. They'll find a way to figure out the money.
It's like, what's the package? What is the overall package that you're going to deliver? And I can almost guarantee you that once you start seeding them, not everyone, but the ones that are for real, once you start seeding their mind with, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, I didn't think about that. Then they go back to the other person who's offering the competition, and they're like, hey, what about this? What about that? Those people are going to fall out real quick. I know Paul's working at a pretty high level over here, so he's definitely
Paul,
got
like,
a lot
how are you
of
qualifying these people?
Go ahead.
Paul, how are you qualifying these people that you're sending these screencasts for? You're not sending them like a blast to everyone, right? Like you have to qualify.
So I do cold calls to screencasts, but I verify that they're going to watch what I'm going to send in most cases. I've got they're all on YouTube. I'm sure if you just search me on YouTube, you'll find all kinds. I've probably got 1,000 videos on there. I can send you a few if you wanted.
So is that your funnel, Paul, is going through all that stuff on YouTube and people find you that way?
Yeah, you know what? There's been a few that have come that way. Also, what happens is when I put the video out there and I make sure I tag it with the business owner's name, the business owner inevitably finds the video and then calls me and says, dude, you got that video up there. Can you take it down? Well, I'll do one better for you. Let me build you a website. So it's also
let me build you a website that matters.
Yeah, it's also a prospecting tool, because if he found it, other people are finding it. But again, it's to Jeff's point, 100% positioning. I'm never the cheapest. I don't want to be the cheapest. That's not my market, but I am the best. It's just that it's that simple. Your site will be found in the eyes of Google because it's going to have all the best practices on that website, period. And that's what we do for all our lead gens as well. So the guy that wants that cheap website, next, move on, keep going. That's not for you, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you can build in the SEO on the back end too and have a recurring monthly easily, easily. All right, does that answer your question, Alex? For the most part.
Yeah, great. That's very helpful. Thanks.
I mean, we're all work in progress too, right? It's like once you kind of get enough awareness of all of this stuff and you get enough reps in, then these kinds of things become easier. You're like, okay, well now I know my niche. Like Paul knows his value, right? Like he's not building a $500 website. He's not going to talk to you about that. So once you start operating at that level, then inevitably these people and opportunities start to magnetize to where you're at. You know what I mean? It just works that way. But you have to get in there and get your hands dirty, learn it, live with it, be it, become it, and have that level of confidence. And then when you're playing at that level of the market, next thing you know, you look around and the other business owners that are coming to you, not all of them, but there'll be enough to keep you in business.
Mm-hmm. I got 2 cents to add to this too, if you want.
Yeah,
I know
sure.
We're almost done with it, but yeah, so I've been doing this for 20 years now. Started doing mostly building websites, got into marketing, SEO, and PPC in the mid 2000s. So, and I think the key is everything that you have just said, but look at the caliber of business coming to you as well, or organization. Yeah. Are they a low dollar, low product, barely scraping 2 nickels together business that just can't afford a website and is never going to pay to do that? Or are they a high-end shop or a large enough organization where they charge a premium for their business? And you can flip things around pretty quick and say, well, I know Mr. Cabinet manufacturer, I can go down to Menards and buy my cabinets for $8,000. Why should yours are $38,000? Why is that? It's like, oh, well, because we, use high-end premium wood and we know what we're doing. We customize this and we do that. It's like, oh, well, it's exactly what I do for your website. If you want
Right.
a website that has the same caliber as the product you offer, then you will pay what it's worth.
Yep. Thanks for adding that. Yeah,
Sure.
that's definitely the way it is. All right. Anybody else? We have a lot of stuff to do over here. I apologize again. We didn't get everybody on the call at the right time, but we will have the call recording. I'll take one more question if anybody has it. Anybody left on the call got anything? Okay, cool. I'm gonna cut it off there then. All right. Thanks a lot for coming on and joining, even though it was at the wrong time. And yeah, we're so looking forward to this mastermind this weekend. It's going to be amazing. We have amazing speakers, and just, man, there's going to be so many great ideas, so many great connections, and so much great information and learning coming out of that. So we look forward to that, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace. My exit here. Not working.